Okay, so what up, though? Um, all right, so I'm just not going to waste any time today. I just want to get right into it. So, child support as a system has been ruled unconstitutional by a Supreme Court in the land. All right. If you didn't know that and you don't know why or how that is, go back and watch the other video on this channel that I made previously titled Child Support Has Been Ruled Unconstitutional. Okay. But if you're on child support, it being ruled unconstitutional most likely changes nothing for you. Meaning you're still going to be, still on child support. They're still going to be making all the demands that they've been making. And if you don't pay, you're still going to be likely subject to all of the same penalties. Unless you have two things in place. And I'm going to tell you what those two things are during this brief video. Okay. Now, the first thing that you have to have in place is clarity. Right? Clarity about what's going on, why child support has been ruled unconstitutional, because having clarity on why it's unlawful is what will give you the foundation to build a powerful legal strategy upon, right? So that you can regain your freedom from this fraudulent bondage. Okay. And that brings us to the second thing that you're going to need to have in order for that Supreme Court ruling to actually make any difference for you. And that is the proper strategy, right? So that you can take effective action. Okay. Now, the few people that are out here that I've come across are all saying, hey, child support is unconstitutional, right? They're revealing that child support has been ruled unconstitutional, that it's a big fraud. But when people ask the key question, which is, okay, what can I do about it? Most of the whistleblowers aren't actually offering any real solutions. And the ones who are saying, you should go to court and fight it. You should get an attorney to represent you and fight as long and as hard as you have to until you get justice. All right. I've even heard some people talk about how, encourage people to be belligerent and, dealing with, fighting child support. All right. Yeah, first of all, I am not a proponent at all of being belligerent. Okay, being belligerent, going in any court setting and, raising your voice, being violent or, verbally violent or anything like that, I would say is a pretty bad idea. Okay. And besides that, the thing of it is, I'm sure you know or have some idea of how expensive it is to hire an attorney to represent you in a matter such as this. Okay. Not to mention, if you can even find an attorney to represent you in the first place when it comes to fighting child support. You know what I mean? Like, because, on the premise that it's actually unconstitutional. All right. And, the reason for that is just like there's a big difference between a peace officer and a police officer and a judge and a justice of the peace. Okay. One of them is here to help maintain the peace by making sure the real law is followed. And the real law I'm talking about is the ultimate law of the land, the Constitution, which represents the republic for which it stands under God. It is. Now, that's on one side. Now, the other is here for essentially the opposite, to assist with tearing away your freedoms and God-given rights from you. Okay, that's where the title attorney comes from. Okay, so first, I want to talk about, if you want to know about what an attorney is, like if you want to know what anything is, you really want to go back to the origin of it to see where it began. Okay, and if you do the history on attorneys, it's going to take you back to medieval times in Europe, where you had a situation where the king, who didn't have ownership rights to privately owned lands, right? You had, lords or knights who would actually go off to war to defend their homeland. And sometimes when these lords who actually owned land, if they were off at war for a certain amount of time, the king would use attorneys to attorn those land ownership rights from those lords who were away at war. Okay, so when you're talking about, the origin of attorneys, they are effectively you could say, a weaponized profession to tear away ownership rights from people. All right. So the word attorney, is a torn, right? To a torn. Okay. Tear away from. And that's why in the Corpus Juris Secundum in volume 7, subsection 4, you can look this up for yourself. It tells you that an attorney's first duty is to the courts and the public and not to the clients. All right. So if you hire an attorney, just know that their first duty is not to you. They are considered an officer of the court. Okay. And, just know that their key, or top interest in any legal matter is not to get justice for their clients. It's not to get justice for you. All right. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to say that attorneys are bad people or anything like that. I'm just saying that there are certain rules, certain duties, certain obligations to every profession, to every contract that people enter into. And it's just wise to know what those obligations are. Okay. So Now, what's the real difference between an attorney and a lawman or a lawyer? All right. Well, a lawyer or a lawman is simply someone who has a high degree of expertise in the comprehension and application of law. All right. But unlike an attorney, does not have a bar card, a license to practice law, and is not an officer of the court. And therefore, a lawyer or lawman owes no allegiance or duty to the courts or anyone else that would conflict or get in the way of them genuinely or unbiasedly representing the best interests of a client. Okay. Um, if you want to get another idea of this, when I first started this presentation here today, I had a picture up of a $2 bill, and on the back of that $2 bill is the signing of the Declaration of Independence, right? So the men who signed the Declaration of Independence, they were absolutely, doing a deed in law, right? And these men were not, attorneys, okay? But they were, so skilled in law that they were actually able to declare themselves an actual country, okay? So since then, right, and before them, then there's always been men, and women who are highly skilled in law, okay, that are not attorneys, did not necessarily go to a law school, right, are not a member of the bar association, okay, but are absolutely very knowledgeable and highly skilled in law, okay. So with that being said, you may be saying to yourself right now that maybe you need to find a lawyer or a lawman to present you or to assist you in stopping the unlawful actions against you from the unconstitutional, unlawful child support agency. All right. So the next question is where are all the lawyers? Okay. Where are all the lawmen? Well, I can tell you now that they are not in the courts, right? Because you aren't actually allowed these days to, in the courtrooms, like attorneys are, unless you are admitted into the bar. Meaning, unless you make a contractual agreement that you will first be loyal to the bar and the courts, you won't be allowed to practice law or represent clients in the courts. You see, so the lawmen or lawyers who have the expertise to help you win unconstitutional matters, right, are not easy to find. They don't have a big attorney office. They don't have a 1-800 number and television commercials and radio commercials and big billboard advertisements or anything like that, because the lawyers have been effectively banned from the courthouses. The truth is, finding real justice in the courthouses, right, because of that, because many of the men and women who practice law, right, practice this profession, right, are attorneys, okay, and have loyalties and duties that or interests that many times conflict with actually acquiring or winning, attaining justice. All right. Um, so because of that, finding real justice in these courthouses these days, though not impossible, uh, is oftentimes extremely difficult, expensive, and time consuming. All right. But luckily, there is another way. And that's what I want to talk to you about. All right. This other way. There's another way to deal with, um, you know, situations that are, uh, when you're dealing with unconstitutional rogue agencies and entities, all right, uh, that there's another way that doesn't involve attorneys or pleading to the court. It doesn't require a special bar card or loads of time and money. This other method is constitutional, lawful, peaceful, and swift. And no one is going to be able to tell you about this strategy, about this method that I'm talking about for dealing with unconstitutional rogue entities, right? Agencies such as child support, likely except for a lawman or a lawyer. So here's what we're going to do. Below this video is a link in the description box. Right? You can click that link and you will land on a page that's going to request your name and email address. Pop in that info and a lawman will be in contact with you soon. Okay? That method, that strategy that I'm talking about, you will have an opportunity to discover it for yourself. All right. But heads up, I'm not saying that it's going to be free or cheap or anything like that. But if you are interested in learning an alternative method for dealing with, um, your situation, and if you're serious about that, right, then yeah, just click the link below in the description box, and we can move forward from there. All right. So that's pretty much it for now. Um, just also FYI, I'm not sure how long this video will be up here, and can't say for certain how long this opportunity will uh, be here. Okay, so yeah, I definitely wouldn't dilly dally or waste any time with this. Okay, so that's it for today. Peace.